Welcome to our podcast, Life According to Lisa.
And Jim sometimes gets it weird and edgewise.
Yeah, it's a little hot today.
Yes, it's very hot.
This week's episode is The Curse of the Hit Role.
Yes.
Today we're talking about some of Hollywood's biggest career gambles. Some actors walked away from the role that made them famous and found even greater success. Others discovered that the audience wasn't following them. They were following the character.
Yeah, and some of these decisions didn't age well. I'm talking to you, David Caruso.
So let's find out. Was it the actor or was it the character?
Yeah, so now some guys are so embody a role that you always think of them like Sean Connery as James Bond, or some people just that's who they are.
Right.
But what can happen is they either play that role over and over again in everything they do, like Jason Strahan or, Tom Cruise, or they turn around and they try to build and become different things like Tom Hanks, who did a lot of different things.
Right. He became a movie star.
Right. Because
now, let's talk about Bosom Buddies for a second. That's where he started.
Right.
Him and Peter Scolari.
Yes.
Right? Now, Tom Hanks, of course, was the breakout star and went on to do so many things.
Right.
And Peter, we saw him here and there at some character roles, and he was on the Newhart show.
Yeah, he decided to take the sidekick role. Some people just the sidekicks, they're never the main character. And that can often happen.
He stuck 2 years with Bosom Buddies. It's not like he left that to become something
bigger.
Yeah,
and it wasn't that big a role anyway. In retrospect, people think it was more than it was. It was a very forgettable series. It wasn't that good. Mm-hmm. And you couldn't make it today because the climate has changed and it's not politically correct. So it never would happen.
Just like Three's Company, it's the same thing.
All the same thing. So it's a snapshot of the time, of the culture at that moment.
Right.
But some guys, like, for instance, a good example is Clint Eastwood. Now, I'm older than most of you guys, and I remember him in the original Rawhide.
Everybody should know
Yes,
Clint
but
Eastwood.
He's two guys, Steve McQueen and Clint Eastwood. They started in television. They did really well, and then they branched into movies. But they sort of stayed kind of in the same vein.
Kind of role.
In Westerns, but then Clint Eastwood broke out when Don Siegel made Dirty Harry, and then all of a sudden he made other movies. Mm-hmm. He was an example of a guy who took control of his own career and started making projects that he put together. He would hire the director. He would hire the writers. And he would protect what his image was and who he was. Other guys, like, for instance, I'm looking at you, Bruce Willis, they'll just sell it on the corner. They put on a pair of hot pants and they'd sell it. Whoever would come. And they'd be in so many movies that you couldn't keep count of it.
What did he start in?
Started in Moonlighting, right? And that's when he was a bartender.
I really liked that show when it was on.
Yeah, it was the epitome of the will they or won't they.
It was fun.
The fruit, the man and woman fighting, and then they get together, and then will they get together, and then all of that nonsense.
But right after that, didn't he do Die Hard?
Not right after that, but soon after that, yes. And then he had this big comeback, and Quentin Tarantino took him into his famous movie. And he just decided to branch out, and that gave him a new immediacy cachet, I guess. And then what they do is they get these.
Well, he did I See Dead People too.
Yes, The Sixth Sense.
The Sixth Sense.
Right. So, but what he did was
Was that before or after Die Hard?
That was after, well after. But what happened? Well, then he had a franchise. Once you get a franchise, then you're made, because then you make the same movie over and over again.
Well, Die Hard.
Well, Die Hard.
How many were there?
Lethal Weapon. There's Beverly Hills Cop with Eddie Murphy.
Mm-hmm.
There's other movies that they could turn around and just repeat it and make money. But it's a money grab. But it's very seldom do they lift up the work and make a better second movie than the first. That almost never happens. Godfather 2 is the example of that.
Right. That's rare.
But that's not run by the actor usually.
Right.
The actor wants to stay.
Look at Michael J. Fox.
Right.
He started in Family Ties. He stayed with it for the whole run.
Yes. Which is unusual for a lot of these guys. Once they become big, they get the idea that they're bigger.
Like, ooh, I want to do something else. I don't want to I don't want to be locked into this.
Yeah, I like Suzanne Somers. She thought she was all that, and she wanted the same amount of money as John Ritter, when John Ritter was really the driving engine of that show. That's why, So she said, oh, well, there's a million girls that look like you. You're not special, So as opposed to Pamela Anderson, who bought into her.
I think there was she did have a salary.
Big salary dispute, yes, I understand.
And the show went on,
Yes.
and they did replace her with other type Christie type.
Yes, blonde. That was easy enough. You didn't. She wasn't irreplaceable. She's not Kojak.
Right.
You can't replace Kojak.
And it was the whole group of them that made the show, not the one person.
Right, but mainly it was mainly was John Ritter. Without his talent, that show wouldn't exist. Just like without Dick Van Dyke or Newhart or Mary Tyler Moore or Lucille Ball, the show doesn't exist.
Right.
You subtract them from the cast, and there's nothing.
Right.
When you look at the other people and say, okay, I'm going to take away Suzanne Somers, I'm going to take away, Lane, whoever, Lane Bennis, and who's a great actress.
What are you talking about?
Well, I'm just saying that the other people that are subsidiary characters get the idea that they're the reason for the success.
That's how much I know who you're talking about.
Elaine Bennis, Louis Julie Dreyfus, or Kramer, or Jason Alexander. Jason Alexander got that role. He epitomated that role. And all the guys get the secondary sidekick role. And they think because they were a good sidekick, then they can carry a TV show. It doesn't usually work that way.
Well, he did great with that. He stayed the whole time.
Right. He was smart. He didn't jump out.
He didn't leave and say, I needed something else.
Right.
He tried other things. Oh, that just made me think. I don't remember what the name of it was. But Jason Alexander was in a show with one of my cousins.
Yes.
Right? And they were filming, and the whole family was invited.
Right.
And my mother looked at Jason Alexander like her son. She said, "You remind me of my son." This was on backstage or whatever, and she kissed him on the lips.
Yes, well, your mother does that kind of stuff.
And then he was like looking at it, like he looked at my cousin like, "What? Your family's insane."
And then she looked at the other star and said, "You wore that all day?" So,
but not one person could really take credit for that character because it was the way they played off each other.
Well, I think he can take credit for that character because he really embodied that character. And
I'm not saying.
Or Kramer, for that matter. Kramer was a specific character.
People still enter the room like Kramer.
Right. It was such a character like Norton on The Honeymooners, right?
Honeymooners.
Norton,
yes.
I
thought you were doing Norm from Cheers.
Well, Norm from Cheers, yeah, that's a good one. But like,
I only heard the first syllable.
Like George Wendt is a pretty good actor, but he couldn't carry a show on his own.
Right. He was part of the cast.
Right.
That made that show legendary. With all the different people, he was like one of the different characters.
Now you could be even a very important, like the second lead, and think that you're the one that makes the show work. And if you could hold out for more money or whatever and leave, perfect example of that was Shelley Long on Cheers.
Yeah.
Right? She thought she was all that, and everybody loved her, and really.
Well, she did. She was going to do movies.
Right, which often happens. They get.
But in the beginning, she had like, oh, it's Shelley Long, and she got casted in these great movies, and then it kind of fizzled out.
She made a couple movies, yeah, but
Troop Beverly Hills, I love.
Well, that's true. You could pick. Sometimes we really like a particular movie and a character, and you like that movie, and you say, "Well, I really love that movie," but not everybody else does.
Right, but in her character, did the audience love Diane? Or did they love the chemistry between Sam and Diane?
That was a very interesting show, and the dynamic of that is not one that's often used so much. It was about class, if we're going to analyze it.
Yes.
Okay, Sam was a working class athlete type guy, and she was a snooty, highfalutin, very intelligent, with more degrees than a thermometer, like woman who's like rubs it in your face. So it's going back to one of our original podcasts. Plot versus pretension.
Yes.
Ted Danson brought the plot. He had, all the things that happened to him when he was a ball player. Guys would walk into the bar, all of that stuff. She brought the pretension that was saying, oh, you're not worthy of me. You should kiss my feet because I'm smart. Not really.
Oh, she was also in Money Pit, right?
Yeah, she was in Money Pit. Was she? No, she wasn't.
Oh, that wasn't her?
No, it was not.
Oh, man, see?
You're thinking she has a bigger career than she did because she didn't.
So.
She wasn't that good.
Troop Beverly Hills. I'll go back to that one. What else?
That's it.
Was that it?
Yeah, pretty much.
She didn't do the one where they were jumping off the cliffs with Bette Midler? That wasn't her either?
I don't remember. There's a thing about Shelley Long, and it's sort of like Jessica Chastain for me. When I see her name in the credits, I change the channel. I said, no, that's okay. Thanks a lot. I'm moving on.
Remember what movie she was in.
And that shows you how successful she was. Okay?
True Beverly Hills.
Right. So, well, that's only because you were in the Brownies and you hated it. So
I know. I did.
you wanted to, get in. Whereas I was in the Boy Scouts and I liked it. And I thought one of the greatest movies ever made about the Boy Scouts, Follow Me Boys with Fred MacMurray, which no one remembers, but with a very young Kurt Russell. And I remember the plot vividly because it happened in my Boy Scout troop. And the plot was he was a kid whose father was a drunk and alcoholic bum. And he was bad, but it was the 60s, so he wasn't like abusive physically or anything like that. But he was just drunk and a mess. And they had a little gathering to give the merit badges out, and the father shows up, drunk out of his face with ice cream that melted.
Oh, boy.
And the poor kid was like, he couldn't sink any lower. He was so ashamed. But Fred MacMurray went over and says, listen, you don't have to be ashamed. What your father does doesn't reflect who you are. Mm-hmm. Be your own person. Be your own man. Do what you got to do. And he went on to be
sounds like a very feel-good movie.
It was a Disney movie. It was really good. And Kurt Russell was in a lot of those movies. He's one guy that was a child actor that had a great career. We just recently saw him in this other monster show. He was amazing.
Oh, he's in Legendary?
Yeah. He was in one of my
Wait, is that the name of it?
No, Monarch.
Monarch.
Yes.
Oh, it's so good. If you haven't watched it, if you're stuck in the house because it's too hot outside, just put it on, or if it's too cold by the time you hear this podcast.
Yeah, he was.
Hopefully, it's still hot out when you hear
he's
it.
one of my favorite movies. One of the best movies you can see on my top 10 list. Tombstone, and he played White Earp. He was great,
good.
But he was a generous enough actor that he allowed his sidekick Val Kilmer to outshine him when he played Doc Holliday. It was amazing. He was great, and that was one of the best performances you're ever going to see. So, in my Western Mount Rushmore, he's up there, Doc Holliday in Tombstone, along with David Carradine in The Long Riders, where he played Cole Younger. Another great performance, his greatest performance. Mm-hmm. Anyway, so you're an actor, you get in a hit show, right? And you think, everybody loves me. Now, you could be an ensemble cast. Some guys really do well, and they say, you know what? I'm going to leave on good terms so I could come back. I'm not going to just dump and run away. One guy that did that was George Clooney. He got bigger than the show.
Started with ER.
But he was like an ensemble. He wasn't the main guy in ER, really.
There was a lot of people on that show.
And they had a love story with him and Juliana Margolis, who also went on to have a big hit show on her own.
Yes, she did.
But he decided to branch out, and he got into movies, and I think he hit it lucky because he was a good-looking, personable guy, and they decided to use him for a lot of stuff. Just like Tom Hanks. I think Tom Hanks went and he said, you know what? I'm going to study the history of Jimmy Stewart, and I'm going to do what Jimmy Stewart did. That's what Tom Hanks did, in my opinion. True. Okay? So he went out and he said, I'm going to make all these everyman movies where people can see me. I'm not playing the crazy hero like Tom Cruise or, some of these, or The Rock or some of these other guys do. I'm going to play everyman, and people can see them in myself. That's why he picked the story, like the Mr. Rogers story. That was perfect for him.
I know, it was.
Because he embodied a beloved character, and that was very smart. He's a very smart actor, Not everybody's very smart. They think that they could do anything, and they can't.
So going back to that main question, was it the actor or was it the character? When we talked about George Clooney, people liked the character of Doug Ross. They liked him in ER, but
yes.
They also loved George Clooney. And they followed him, and he had movie star charisma.
I think if I was going to analyze it, Lisa, I don't necessarily think they liked the character at all, because can you really remember anything about the character itself? Probably not. You don't remember the character. You remember him, right? And his personality and his charisma overwhelmed the character. So he was such a good-looking guy, and he was, I think he had one episode where he was saving this kid that was in a drain or something, and I said at the time, oh, he's playing Lassie. I mean, that's the emotional manipulation that TV does.
I'm going to counteract that with David Caruso,
right.
Where people liked Detective John Kelly. They liked that character.
Right.
If he would have stuck with that role, he would have went a long way.
Right. Well, you get a reputation of being difficult. Like, for instance,
he believed they loved David Caruso.
Correct.
So that's the other one. And Hollywood thought so too. So
Yeah.
he left and he did movies, but it failed.
Right.
They failed.
Well, at the time, there was these two guys that had a lot of money, and they were making movies. So they would cherry pick these guys and say, "Oh, come work for me, and we'll make a lot of movies." And sometimes they hit it big with terrible actors like Steven Seagal. They made a bunch of movies. They made a lot of money.
They did.
But he was terrible, a terrible actor, you know. And Jean-Claude Van Damme was another guy like that.
And it was all about the fighting and the.
Yeah, but I mean, it was kind of stupid. But people like that, so when the real action guys like Jet Li and those guys that were real proficient, even Chuck Norris for that matter, didn't do so well because they didn't have the backing. But Chuck Norris did really well. But to get back to the point, when you look at when you talk about the actor who embodied the character, and do you remember, like, give you Lisa's favorite, The Odd Couple, right?
Yes.
You remember Jack Klugman, right?
Yes.
You remember what Oscar Madison, the character, was about.
Mm-hmm.
You could tell me 20 things that Oscar Madison did.
Right.
Right? Then he went on to do Quincy. You can't tell me 20 things Quincy did.
I liked Quincy, though.
Yes,
'Cause
I liked it too.
Jack
It was okay, but you
And I
can't.
thought he had a nice way about it.
Right.
And I liked that show.
But you can name 20 different things that Oscar Madison or
Because
Felix
that's my
Unger for that matter.
It's my classic
Well,
show
okay,
that I
let-
watched over and over. That's why I know all the lines. That's why I could read his lips. Frederick. There's something wrong with the fuselage.
Right. But certain actors, like, they so inhabit the role that you can't see them as anything else, or they play the same same role over again, like Bob Newhart did it. He did it twice, very successful.
Mm-hmm.
Then there's guys that could turn around and play something totally different, like Carell O'Connor. He was very successful in All in the Family, and then he did it in the Heat of the Night. Now he stepped into Rod Steiger's boots that made the movie, but he was very successful in that show.
Mm-hmm.
Another guy who's my favorite, Robert Urich, he made my favorite book made into a movie called Spencer for Hire, which was really good. But he was also in Vegas. And you know what he also did, Lisa?
What?
He was in the reboot of The Love Boat, where he played the captain for 32 episodes. So that was a guy with some class and some taste, just saying.
I mean, we love The Love Boat.
Right.
Just like I love Lucy.
Right. And Lucy was a person that played the same role. In fact, but because she had so much control, she turned around and just remade the Lucy show over and over again.
Yes.
And she even had...
She was the same person.
Right.
With all the antics and all the fun and the laughter and the, getting
Right.
mixed
She
up
didn't
into
really
things.
Yeah, she didn't really change it too much because she did what worked. And
She knew that's what worked.
And a lot of old-time Hollywood was like that, like Bob Hope.
Jackie Gleason did it.
Jackie Gleason, Bob Hope, those guys were the same. But lightning never struck twice. So, and a lot of these guys. But other guys are more adventurous, like, for instance, Ted Danson. Like, Ted Danson hit it big in Cheers. Then he went and had that show Becca that was successful.
Mm-hmm.
Then he hit it recently
with
A Good Place.
He
did really well
very
in that.
nice. He did very well with that.
And what you have to do as you get older is say, I don't have to be the absolute center of attention. I could slide into another role, still be the number one guy, but let other people come up and do it as well.
Right.
You know what I mean?
And then they all made each other look good.
Right. Well,
that's what makes a good cast.
That's what makes an ensemble cast. Yes, for sure. So, like, when you look, the perfect example was Mary Tyler Moore. So Mary Tyler Moore, almost every one of the people on Mary Tyler Moore went on to have a successful show.
Yes.
And be successful. Some in movies, like Believe It or Not Ted Knight, right?
Caddyshack.
He was in Caddyshack. He was in a couple of movies. He was really great. He had his own TV show as well that was pretty successful for a couple of years.
It was just the Ted Knight show, right?
No, I forget the name.
It was a family.
It was a family show, and I forget the name of it. It wasn't that great, but it was okay. He did okay.
I think people watched it to watch him.
Murray Slaughter, right?
Right.
Captain of the Love Boat.
That's right.
I remember him from McHale's Navy, believe it or not. He was like a subsidiary character. But he went on to be the Love Boat. Betty White. What do you need to say about Betty White?
Right. She had a career until she was 100.
Valerie Harper had her own series that was Rhoda, but then she had her own series, which was funny. She's an example of somebody that got too big for their britches. She had a show called The Harper Family or something. And then
I don't remember.
Jason Bateman played her son. So she was there for like maybe 2 years, and she wanted more money. They fired her, and they made it about the son, because he had charisma. And they said, "Oh, we're going to take this guy." Because sometimes that happens. There's a show and you get somebody that's nominally the star, like Family Ties, right? And all of a sudden, Michael J. Fox breaks out.
Mm-hmm.
The biggest example you could point to, I think, is Happy Days.
And he's still working.
Right.
So
Michael J.
he's
Fox,
on
yeah.
Shrinking.
Yes, he moves around and he
Which another season's coming.
But he was lucky, but he was a guy that had a very popular character. So they want to exploit it. They put him in a movie and he hit it out of the park with Back to the Future.
Mm-hmm.
So that happens every once in a while. And then they say, holy cow.
Franchise lasted.
Yeah, and then he was able to parlay that into Spin City and he did other work and he did pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
But the perfect example of the guy who had the breakout character that most people point to is Fonzie on Happy Days. Now, Happy Days originally was supposed to be about Richie Cunningham, who was the star Ron Howard, who had everybody loved him as Opie on the Andy Griffith Show.
Right.
So he was the star. But he was humble enough to say, wow, this guy hit it big. We'll go with it. I'm not going to say, oh, no, you got to limit this guy or I don't want this guy on the show, whatever. No. Fonzie hit it. And if you are a historian of television, as I am, the first couple of episodes, Fonzie wasn't Fonzie. He wore like a cloth jacket.
Right.
And he wasn't the guy. Then one day he put on the leather jacket and he was going, hey, oh.
And then he just transformed.
And he did the Andrew Dice Clay thing where he pretended he was Italian.
Right.
And he got all of that juice.
Until we had to literally jump
the shark. Yes. But sometimes the guy gets so big and so arrogant, and then
he stayed with the show until the end.
Yes, he did. And then he had other successful things that he did. He also had a movie that was okay when he first hit it big, where he was in a car in his office. I forget the name. I see all of these shows. I should write this crap down, but I don't remember it.
I wish you would.
Who cares? We're just having a conversation here.
We don't remember it all.
Yeah. I think it was Night Shift or something like that. He played a coroner or something.
Look at William Shatner.
Yes.
So he stayed with the entire series of Star Trek.
Well, 2 years, yes.
It was only 2 years.
Yes.
People think Star Trek was longer than it was.
It's not. Yeah.
It was only 2 years. And then what did he do after that?
He did T.J. Hooker, one of my favorite shows with Adrian Zemed and Heather Locklear. Okay, they said we're going to have Captain Kirk and two really pretty people, and he's just going to slide across the hood of the car and beat up people. And every once in a while, I make Lisa crazy because we're flipping through, and I said, "Oh, look, it's T.J. Hooker. Let's watch an episode." I said, "I don't want to watch that." I said, "Oh, just for nostalgia purposes." I said, "Just wait till I just want to see him slide over the hood of the car, and I'll be happy." Right? But he had a Boston Legal. He did other shows where he was
I like Boston Legal.
Yeah, but he was always playing Captain Kirk, really.
Yeah.
You remembered Captain Kirk. He never could get away from that.
It's just the way he is.
Right.
He was just himself.
I remember watching a Hallmark movie where he played Santa Claus, and I said, "Oh, Captain Kirk is Santa Claus."
Yes.
He's looking at that reindeer and saying, "I wonder what you look like in a green bikini." Oh, wait, that was terrible. Push the button, Lisa. Don't stop me from talking.
I can't. I need a mute button.
Yes, you do. So what happens is, like, I always use the obscure reference that Lisa finally knows now, and that's Pernell Roberts. He was on one of the biggest shows ever, Bonanza, back in the day.
Yes.
And he was so arrogant. And he
the one that was in black.
He was Adam Cartwright, and he was the one that nobody liked. But he thought everybody loved him.
Yep.
So he went to the producers and he said, "Listen, I want out of my contract because if I could be in movies, I'd get the roles that Richard Burton gets." Like I said, "Oh yeah? No problem. You're out." And they replaced him with Candy, but that's another whole story. Mm-hmm. So sometimes these people think they're great and they're amazing and they turn around.
He wanted greater opportunities,
And they look down on the role of being
and Bonanza remained a hit without him.
Oh, 10 more years,
It didn't even affect him being gone.
Right. And he was
So the answer to that question is,
it was the role.
America did not love Adam Cartwright as much
as he thought they did. Yes,
they loved the Bonanza.
Yeah, well, they liked the ensemble part of it. I mean, we could look at a similar show, Yellowstone, right?
Right.
Now here you got Yellowstone. You had all these vivid characters.
Everybody wanted to be on it.
Well, they had vivid characters, right? So what did they do? They spun off the daughter, right?
Yes.
And she has a show with Rip.
Dutton Ranch.
And they also spun off the son.
Yes,
Marshals, U.S. Marshals, whatever it is. So, but some of the other characters, they didn't, because they weren't. Kevin Costner was killed in the show, obviously, but there wasn't a lot of leeway to make a different.
Well, some of them left Yellowstone to go on U.S. Marshals.
Yeah, a
Like
couple.
the chairman,
Yes,
like
yes.
other characters.
Well, the subsidiary characters, yes. But of the main characters, pretty much.
Oh, they died.
Right. Well, they killed them
They
off.
killed
which is,
everybody at the end.
Yes, and that's what they do sometimes in shows when they don't want it to continue. They just write you out.
You're not going to get a spinoff. We're killing you.
Yes. They did that in The Shield. They did that in Sons of Anarchy. They do it on a lot of shows.
They killed the brother. They killed the father.
And they did it in my favorite show, The Sopranos.
Yes, but I remember when they did it in The Shield. I'm like, wow, they're really getting rid of everyone. They're just killing them.
In The Sopranos, they pretty much killed everybody. There's very few people left. It was only Paulie Walnuts at the end. Everybody else gets murdered, which isn't exactly.
That's why they had to do a prequel.
Right, which isn't
there
really.
was nowhere else to go.
Right. Yeah. So, but if you wanted to make a show about a character from The Sopranos, you might have been able to do it because there were enough there. You know, if you wanted to make a Johnny Sack show or a Paulie Walnut show, I think you could have done it.
Yeah. So, if the question is, could someone else have played Tony?
Yes, I think they could. I mean, but he does embody the role. Don't get me wrong, very talented. You'll always think of Tony Soprano, just as you always think of William Shatner as Captain Kirk. They're in, or Lucille Ball as Lucy Onez. You know, you'll always think of them as that person. However, there are people I think that could have done it. I think Paul Sorvino could have done it, myself personally. You know, I don't know if he could have been as volatile and as angry as Tony was, because that was the thing that he brought to it. It wasn't anything else other than his anger that he would flip out and go nuts. And because he was a big guy, that scared the crap out of everybody. If he was a little guy, the mayor of Munchkin Town, you
needed a big
some of the
guy
other guys
to fill his shoes. Like, he really filled the part.
Right, and he embodied that part so much but I think there was so many other guys that.
How would it be different if it wasn't?
I think Paul Sorvino had more humanity and more family feeling than Tony Soprano. It would have been a different show. He played the mob boss Paul Vario in Goodfellas. Okay, so he played in a lot of. Danny Aiello maybe could have done it too. I mean, but he was old then. But Danny Aiello would have been a good Tony Soprano, in my opinion. You know, he could have done it. But I think he can't beat Gandolfini's portrayal. It's the greatest portrayal of a mafia Don ever. Just remember, Dons don't wear shorts. That's all I got to say.
All right.
So, okay, we went to one of my most favorite characters, Tony Soprano, and tried to figure out an alternative
Remember
actor.
when we could save like 5 shows? He had The Sopranos. Guess what I had?
Lucy.
I love Lucy.
So who could be Lucy? Who could play Lucy's role? If you took Lucy out of it and put someone else in her spot, who would it be?
I mean, there is only one iconic person that could do it.
Right.
One.
And a brilliant actress and someone who...
Anything I could do, anything you could do, I could do better.
She would be amazing.
Carol Burnett.
Yes, I think Carol Burnett could do... If Carol Burnett made...
She has the physical comedy. She has the timing. She has the facial expressions, that endless energy.
Yeah, and the warmth that Lucy gave off.
Yes.
Not
So
easily
anyone
replicated.
That would be the only person. I can't think of another person.
They had an idea a while
They
ago.
tried to do it modern, I Love Lucy.
Well, they had an idea that I thought...
The way they did Bewitched over, and they tried to replace Elizabeth Montgomery.
Right, but what they did, they had an idea a couple of years ago, which I thought was really smart. They took the actual scripts of different TV shows and put new actors in to see if they could make it. And I thought that was amazing. So what if you took the actual scripts of I Love Lucy and put someone in there? I don't know who other than
I'd have to
Carol
really
Burnett.
think about it.
Maybe the girl from the new girl, Zoe Deschanel, is the possibility. She might be able to pull it off.
Possibility.
Right?
I have to really think about that.
Right, but to come
We should
to
be casting agents.
come to one that I think that could easily be done is Columbo. Everybody thinks of Columbo as Peter Falk, but there's other guys that could do it. Like, for instance, one of Lisa's favorite movies.
My favorite.
Movie is that guy.
Alan Arkin.
Yes.
Remember when his son was outside the house?
Yes.
When they were going to do The Americans?
Yes.
Anyway, Serpentine Mal.
Lisa yells that all the time when we're in line.
Serpentine.
And everybody looks at her and say, who is this crazy broad? What is she doing?
But Alan Arkin could definitely have done that.
Yeah, and off the box, out of the box, off the wall idea is Michael Emerson, and you would say, who the heck is Michael Emerson?
Who's Michael Emerson?
He's the guy from Person of Interest.
Oh, with the glasses.
Yeah, he also plays the mean judge.
He's really married to the Elsbeth real person.
And he played the nasty judge in Elspeth, but I think he could totally pull off Columbo.
I think so.
He's just annoying enough.
Yes.
And also now
he's not sloppy though.
No.
I can't see him sloppy. That's the only problem. The Columbo character had the old raincoat, the cigar, the lazy eye, the shuffling in his walk. I can't see that guy. He'd really have to change his whole persona.
Well, when an actor comes in,
as we see him in the roles that he's played,
right? But what happens is if you're going to come in and portray what someone else did,
so
you just can't
make
copy
that
it.
his own,
right?
And we liked that he was the sloppy guy.
Right.
We liked, the cigar, the way he came back, the way he put his hand on his head.
Well, look at the tremendous failure of the new Odd Couple that they made with Matthew Perry tried to be Oscar Madison and he couldn't do it.
Right.
You just can't copy that.
Right. When everyone does Lucy and they do Vita Vita Vegemin, and it's like you watch it and you're like, I've seen this 100 times.
Now
I don't want to see some person that wants to do it and reenact it.
Right.
Because to me that's boring.
Yeah.
Unless they change it up.
Right. Or they're so incredibly talented. Now you picked an incredibly talented person in Carol Burnett to be
because
Lucy.
That's the only equal to Lucy.
I'll do the same thing. Okay. How about Ralph Crandon, Jackie Gleason? Now you're saying to yourself, who am I going to get to be Jackie Gleason? Certainly not Cedric the Entertainer that they tried to do it.
Mm-hmm.
You know the one guy that could have probably done it and pulled it off and really been great? John Belushi. I would have made John Belushi play the Honeymooners. He would have knocked it out of the park.
Yep.
He would have been perfect. And even, do the exact same thing.
Right.
The other guy that could probably have done it, Chris Farley.
Yes.
Okay? Chris Farley totally has the humanity, and he could go from comedy to trap immediately. Chris Farley would have been an amazing Ralph Crandon. I think he would have been off the wall. Mm-hmm. Now, of course, we're basing that sort of on physicality, on their physical persona. Mm-hmm. I'm not picking Ichabod Crane to play Jackie Gleason. It just doesn't work. But they have a sensibility. Like, for instance, Archie Bunker. Lisa, who would you think could be Archie Bunker? I have a candidate, Ed O'Neill from Married with Children and Modern Family. He has that acerbic.
Yes.
He sort of plays Archie Bunker in Modern Family.
Acerbic, I like that.
But him. Because of political correctness, he couldn't actually be Archie Bunker.
No.
So he couldn't actually honestly be how someone like that thinks, because that's not allowed anymore.
Right.
So
that's not going to happen.
But he could play that role, Now, how about your friend Mary Tyler Moore? Who would be Mary Tyler Moore?
Mary Tyler Moore. I loved her. She was so good. And let's see. I'm trying to think. Even when she played Thoroughly Modern Millie, remember we went to go see that on Broadway? It was one of my favorite movies. I love when they had a tap dance to make the elevator go up. She kind of played the same person as Mary Tyler Moore, that naive,
Right. Well, she developed that persona in the Dick Van Dyke Show, and she just carried on with it.
But she did change it up in Ordinary People.
Yes. Well, she had a lot of talent, which sometimes people don't get to display.
Yeah, she's amazing. I always loved her. She was.
I
one of my favorites.
I have a candidate that I think
I know what you're going to say because we discussed this maybe a couple of weeks ago.
Yes, and that would be Terry Garr.
Think Young Frankenstein.
Yes, from Frankenstein and that amazing Gary Seven episode of Star Trek. I think everything goes back to the shows that I watched when I was a kid, and I remember all these people. And I'm saying, Pernod Roberts,
she would be really good. I think she could.
She had something.
Off.
She had something that was unique, and I think she could definitely have played that. Certain people have a unique quality. Like Sally Field had that early in her career, and she traded off on it nonstop. Now, Lisa was talking about, when we were having the discussion before, there's one character that's been done so many times by so many actors, it's crazy, and everyone gives a different interpretation. Like, talk about James Bond, right?
Oh, wait, before we get into, we're changing subjects, right?
No.
Because I just wanted to talk about Jessica Fletcher.
Yes.
The character.
Right.
If we could replace her, Angela Lansbury with somebody else.
Right now, Jamie Lee Curtis is playing.
I know. I can't wait for that to come out.
And we just saw her Emmy-winning performance on The Bear, which was amazing. And
yes.
she played the mother, Donna.
Donna.
Right, and she drove the car into the house.
On Christmas Eve.
Right.
But because I had an idea just popped into my head of who would play Jessica Fletcher. Who would be really good.
Who would have
at
been
it.
great back in the day?
Back in the day, not now with Jamie Lee Curtis the way they're doing it.
Right.
Back then when Murder, She Wrote was hot.
Well, just like I said, James Belushi could be Ralph Crandon. We can't because he's dead.
We're going back in time here.
Right.
I think, you'll never guess.
Who?
Betty White.
Yeah, Betty White would be perfect.
She has that great balance of, she has the warmth, the intellect, the elegant way about her, but she has that humor and that humanity that she would bring to the table. I think she would have been definitely a run for her money.
I think it would be really great, and especially if they gave a full range of her talents. Because if you remember Mary Tyler Moore, she played a very acerbic, nasty, happy homemaker.
Yeah.
So she was totally different than who she played against type, and everybody said, "Wow, that's Betty White. Betty White's so nice. She's so cute.
Right,
she did that." What if she did that?
Mm.
And she was Jessica Fletcher, so she was Betty White normally, Betty White from Password and from The Golden Girls normally, and then when the murder came, she turned into the happy homemaker. She switched like Jekyll and Hyde. That would be really fun, I think. No?
I mean, Jessica Fletcher stayed with Murder, She Wrote. She rode that gravy train the whole way.
Right.
She knew that was her role.
Right.
And she ran with it.
Yeah, but she had been a big actress back in the day. She made movies.
Yes.
The Manchurian
But
Candidate
then she
springs
found
to
this
mind.
role, and she's like, "This is my gravy train."
Right. Well, sometimes that happens, that you get a spot,
Which I think was very smart, not thinking if she just did a couple of years of Murder, She Wrote, and then she started looking for movies again.
Right.
That's not what she did. She stayed with it.
Well, unfortunately for women, that's not an option, I don't think, especially when you get to a certain age, although she was only 58.
Fighting this now.
Yes, but she was only 58 at the time.
Right.
So she should have been able to
That's
get
why
on.
I love that Jamie Lee Kermit.
Jeremy Lee Kermit?
That
Is she green? Captain Kirk is going to come if she's green.
Oh, no. I am so over the moon that Jamie Lee Curtis is playing in Murder, She Wrote, because I want to see older women in these roles.
Well, they basically remade it in this new show with Brooke Shields. It's basically Murder, She Wrote. They just ripped it off entirely.
Yes, with Acorn.
She's living in a small town and she's solving murders.
I don't care. As long as I see women my age out there, I'm very happy.
Right.
That's why, by the way, in The Brooklyn Witch, Speranza, the character, is 58.
Right.
She's not some young ingenue, 21, coming into her power. No.
Right.
So putting that in there.
Yes, the Brooke Shields show is going to be tough because she's going to have to keep running back to New York to rescue her daughter who's hanging out with all these degenerates in next gen New York City. She has to get away from Teresa's daughter. Say, no, don't hang out with her anymore. Come back here. Just come back to my town. People are getting murdered.
See, this is the button. Okay, moving on.
So one character has been in so many different movies that you look at it and you say, wow, this guy was good. This guy stunk.
Bond.
Right. So James Bond. Everybody thinks the epitome of Sean Connery's James Bond, and he was a great James Bond.
I think he was a great James
Bond.
Bond.
in my view, I've read the James Bond.
Roger Moore was a great James Bond.
He was good,
too.
but I think the guy that really epitomated was Pierce Brosnan. He was James Bond, and to me, I think he was the best.
Now, if you read the books,
he's
Ian
much more
Fleming,
the way he was described.
He was described more for the Pierce Bronson.
Right.
Pierce Bronson.
No, I heard an
persona.
interesting theory that someone said, and they said that James Bond is just a name or a code name. It wasn't an actual person. Now, if they took that view, then making other strange casting choices might be more acceptable, because now they want to have all different types of people be James Bond instead of looking for that particular type. Same thing with Batman. Batman is ridiculous. There's so many guys that played Batman. It's hard to pick somebody as the real Batman. A lot of people say Christian Bale.
I think Adam West was the best Batman.
Well, I can identify with Adam West because he had a big gut, so I could go along with it.
He was just, that was our original introduction to Batman.
Right.
Was Adam West.
Yeah, and it was fun.
That's what we watched.
Yeah, it
That's
was
what
fun.
we believed to be Batman. We thought he was climbing up the building. We didn't know he was just walking along the floor.
Well, so now some of these movies, franchises, they have to decide, make a decision when the actor gets too old, right? Because these movies take 3 or 4 years to be made. So when you make a movie,
all the superheroes.
right? So you're like 35, and you make a movie, and you can still, exercise and look good, but then you're 45, and it's a big difference, So do they recast, or do they continue with an older looking guy? I think that to me is a big problem in a lot of books and TV shows that I read. I've spoken about this before. You can't continue after a certain time. You have to say it can only last so long, and you can't be doing fist fights like the lady in 911. She can't continue to be a street cop when she's 65. No, it's not working. Even William Shatner didn't do that. He became a lawyer.
Yeah.
So when you have these groups, and we talked about some of them, like we talked about individual stars like Ralph Crandon and Lucy, and they're one big star, and they have other supporting characters, but it's not a true ensemble piece. Mary Tyler Moore was really an ensemble piece. She didn't over-dominate all the characters.
They all fit like pieces of a puzzle.
Or Cheers, for that matter, right?
They just fit like pieces of the puzzle came together.
Yeah, Ted Danson was the star, but all these other quirky other characters had a lot
And
to
you
do with
loved
it.
them, and they all had their little niche.
Right, and sometimes they would put in new ones. Like the famous thing about Cheers is one character went on to have an even more successful show.
Frasier.
Right. And he wasn't there in the first year. He came in like the second year, I think, as Diane's ex-boyfriend or boyfriend or whatever. So he really made that into something, But when you have an ensemble cast, I think that is much more fun.
And he's still going.
Yeah, yeah. So now when Lisa was writing her book, she had to make some decisions.
Right. And when I was writing The Brooklyn Witch, I did write an ensemble piece. There are many other characters and that are all important. And I feel like the story wouldn't go on without all of them together.
Yeah, it's not a story like Reacher where she wanders the earth solving witchy problems by herself. Mm-hmm. She has a lot of help.
And it's like some actors think they own the magic when the magic was created by everyone that was around them.
Right.
And that's what I wanted this book to be. It's everyone around Speranza. It's her chosen family who she chooses to have in her life. And that's the heart of the book because it's a family.
Yes, it's her actual family, her chosen family, and even the fairies that she makes a family with. That becomes part of her family just as much as anyone else.
Book 2 is called The Brooklyn Witch, Never Go Against the Family.
Right. And family is a basis of the book, and it really examines the effect of family and family betrayals.
Yes.
And the ins and outs of family.
Which everyone could relate to.
Totally relate to. Well, and when we watch shows, we happened to be watching The Bear, which we hadn't seen before.
Right, we had to catch up with The Bear.
But we're watching like the Christmas, and we're saying, "Wow, that's like everybody's Christmas." Not to that degree.
A little bit was
it's exaggerated. Yes,
I was having a little panic from everyone.
Yes, she was freaking out.
Like enough of the screaming. There had to be like a gavel, something to stop them from screaming at each other.
Well, the problem with it, there was nobody with.
There was no referee. With enough power.
Right. There was nobody with the respect of everyone that could stop it.
Right.
There was
when grandma yells, everybody shuts up.
Right. The guy that should have stopped it was the brother that killed himself. He was the person that probably could have toned it down.
He was crazy.
But he was pushing it even more than anybody else.
How many forks did he throw? Come
right.
on.
It's like when the father starts a fight with everybody and makes it crazy, that's when it really goes downhill quick.
It was not good. Now, we've talked about this many times, who I want to play Speranza, and I think if Annabella Sciorra someday plays Speranza in the TV series The Brooklyn Witch, Battle for Brooklyn, the people aren't going to simply fall in love with Annabella, which they will.
Right.
Anyway, but hopefully they fall in love with Speranza.
Right.
Because I feel her relationship to that character would be great.
Yeah, she has the ability. She has the humor and humanity that would be great.
Mm-hmm.
I think
it'll be so real.
Lorraine Bracco has that too.
Right.
Now, we talked about Brooke Shields as a possibility. Brooke Shields could play it, but I think she has too much niceness.
Yeah. I don't know if it would come off because Speranza, there's an arc of her character. I don't know.
Yeah, I think she has enough. Here's the thing I would say about Brooke Shields and people like her. She has a lot of niceness, and Speranza has a lot of niceness, and she's naive, and she's nice, and she's wonderful. Mm-hmm. But then there comes a point where she has to turn and do tough things.
Right.
Would she be able to sell that?
Brooke Shields sell that?
It's like when Richie Aprile, to go back to The Sopranos,
I know,
and he couldn't get the guys to turn against Tony, and he leaves the doctor's office, and Junior goes, he couldn't sell it. He couldn't sell it. And he says, well, and Bobby Bacala says, he's got a lot of moxie for his guys his size. He said, so what? If he dies, I can't wear his shoes. So, sorry, that was just the obligatory Soprano quote. Mm-hmm. So, what if Brooke Shields became Speranza? We would say yes, but we couldn't wear her shoes.
I just feel Annabelle. I see her in the part. I see her walking down court. I see the whole thing.
But just as Betty White would have brought a different dimension to Jessica Fletcher,
right?
If we got somebody like Jennifer Tilly, she would bring a silliness to it. But she could do the dramatic parts, too, because she was in Bound. I don't know if anyone's seen that movie. She was amazing.
Right.
She can bring the drama, too.
You see where we're going with this. Here.
But it would be more on the lighter side if she wasn't cast. Okay? I think Annabelle had done great things dramatically, seriously, and then also humor. Mm-hmm. She brings a nice mix. And Lorraine Bracco could do that. There's other people. Catherine Narducci, I think, would be great. Jennifer Esposito would be great. She'd be a little stronger on the more tougher side.
I see her being more Ginny.
Yeah, she would be great as Ginny.
Because where the character's going.
In the story, yes.
Like in book 1, you see Ginny. You don't really know where she's going. Book 2, Ginny
and she becomes a much more...
off, and she's more important.
Yes, and she would be great in that character and could really pull it off. And, there's other people. I think Catherine Narducci would be great for that part, too. Catherine Narducci played Artie Bucco's wife. She was the wife in The Bronze Tale. Very good actress. Amazing. So
I go back to Annabella because I just...
Yeah, I think she'd be perfect.
I see her doing it.
Right. Because when you look at a role and you look at an artist and you say, wow, this person is amazing, what they do, how could you replace them? As Tony Soprano said, where did Gary Cooper go? That Gary Cooper guy doesn't exist anymore. They really don't have a guy that plays the Gary Cooper role, which is, I guess, the way life is now and how they look at things. They didn't want anybody to be Gary Cooper. They want you to be more ambivalent, is that a better view? No, I guess, but maybe not, because you know what? In real life, you meet people that aren't at all like that. They're one way and that's it. They don't change. And that's also a valid part of human existence, and you can't just deny that, which I think they kind of do. They try to, I think when you try to satisfy everybody, you satisfy nobody.
Nobody knows. All right. There were some characters that were bigger than the actor.
Right.
That we were just going to hit on before we... I'm looking for something. All right. Anyway.
You're shuffling your papers.
No, I was talking about Superman. All right.
Well,
a character that's just bigger than the actor.
Right. Well, Superman is a funny one because George Reeves was the original Superman that we all remember.
He was on Lucy.
Yes, we remember as a kid. And he played them as a very genial, nice guy, Then Christopher Reeve embodied the part, and he was a very handsome guy, and he did pretty good. But then they decided to keep remaking Superman over and over and over again. I didn't even watch the new one. I can't get into it. It's just too much for me. Just along with Batman. I stopped watching 3 Batmans ago. It's just not for me. And Sherlock Holmes is a good example of one that has a lot of different characters, a lot of different people playing Sherlock Holmes. But what they can do is they can switch it up. So when they made Elementary with Johnny Lee Miller, he played a great Sherlock Holmes. But he wasn't the traditional Sherlock Holmes, and Watson was totally different. It was a woman, than the regular Dr. Watson. So you can take a literary work and change it up and make it different, make it your own. So if they made, here's an interesting thought, Lisa.
Yes.
Our TV shows and movies like sort of the same as a book, as a literary
Well, the books are always
an
better.
actor for creation.
The books are better.
Not always. Sometimes movies are better than
Sometimes,
books.
well, yeah, okay.
I'll tell you this.
I'm going to say 75. The books are better.
Probably. But when it's an act of creation, can you go back and remake the movie or remake the book and remake the movie in a different way? And have a different style.
Don't they do that?
I know. Well, that's the problem because they don't. What they do normally is they just slavishly copy it and stick another person in the role and want to make money on it. That's what they do with James Bond all the time.
Right.
Sherlock Holmes the same. See, Sherlock Holmes, I think, because as I often said, is the most copied and written about and used in novels and movies. They can mix it up. So when we were talking about Elementary, they did that. Now they have the new Young Sherlock Holmes, which is a very good series on, I think, Amazon. That's excellent. They really turn around and they take the characters and they put new people.
We watched all the different Sherlock Holmes.
Yeah, every possible permutation. Then they had the one where his sister was the main character, and Sherlock Holmes is only a subsidiary character. Then they went with Robert Downey Jr. in the movies, and they just made him like a superhero, So that's an example of a character that can be done over and over again, and different people can be in it. So if you are a guy coming into that, you can't say, oh, everybody's watching Superman because I'm Pernell Roberts. And
yeah, right.
They're watching it. I'm, David Caruso, and that's why everybody's watching Batman. No, it's not the case, pal. It's nothing to do with you. You're not anything other than a vehicle for the writer and for the person who creates it. The person who creates it could be the writer, could be the director, could be the star, the actor. Sometimes the actors, like the guy that does that is Clint Eastwood, right? He's made so many movies where he was the driving force behind it. So, that's it. We just talked about, different actors.
Kind of got off the trail.
We sort of wandered away and we started looking. Oh, look, we're off the trail. But look at that. There's a beautiful flower.
Look over there.
Or as Lisa likes to say, squirrel. So we wandered away from our topic, but I think we covered a lot of it. And we
could go on and on. There's so
Yes.
many different shows that we didn't talk about. And,
Right.
This
and
is
different
just
actors and stuff. It's a conversation.
This is the conversations we have. This is why we're doing it and recording it, because this is what we talk about when we're home alone.
Yes, it's not a TED Talk. It's not based on.
We just have great conversations, so we're sharing.
Hopefully,
them
it's
with you.
great. I hope you like them.
Well, we hope so.
We'd like some feedback if you might want to leave a comment here on the actual podcast or on the YouTube video. That would be wonderful.
Yeah. So if you're listening on Spotify and you also have YouTube, you can listen on YouTube if you can't get your Spotify channel, and we see what happens from there.
Yes, and also, more than anything, we need you to get the book. Don't be cheap. Go out there and buy it. The Brooklyn Witch, available on Amazon.
Yes. You can also find it on the brooklynwitch.com. If you go to the website, you can get a hand-signed copy, an author-signed copy. Me, I will sign your book, and I could write something fun inside of it, and you get a bunch of goodies.
Right, and if you really...
And a beautiful book bag that I personally sewed.
And if you pay double, I'll get you a foot-signed copy. Because Lisa says I have hand feet because my feet are so big. And I'll sign her name with my foot.
No,
okay?
Your feet are staying.
I never
Jim's feet will be nowhere near the books. Okay? Don't worry about it. There'll be no hand feet near the book.
I always thought that was ridiculous when they said a hand-signed copy. What does that mean? Does it mean that it's going to be auto pen?
It could have been.
Yeah, I mean, but it's ridiculous to say hand signed.
I'm signing it.
What else would you sign it without your hand? It has to be hand signed. All right, but
maybe
also
there's a stamp.
It's also available
They
on.
could stamp it.
I guess it's also available on Amazon, Kobo, Barnes and Noble.
But just go to the website and you'll see all the places where you could buy it if you choose to buy it from Barnes and Noble, Kobo, or Google, or wherever you want to go.
Yes, or if you want to buy the ebook, we can't hand sign that.
No.
But
only the paperback or the
hardcover, yes,
which is gorgeous.
It's beautiful and it's very nice. So I hope you enjoyed our show today, our podcast, and we tried to make it fun and interesting and talk about topics that are accessible.
I hope you got your laundry done, or if you're sitting at the beach and you just have headphones in listening to us.
Right, and I talked about actors from 50 years ago that nobody's going to know, but that's what I like to do. So,
well, until next time, I want you to keep laughing.
Keep reading. And keep the conversation going.
Yeah. We'll see you on the next episode of Life According to Lisa.
And Jim, too.
Same stoop.
Different magic.